up, everyone? My name's AJ Wrights Crypto. This panel, I'm really excited to get this off the ground because, the goal of this panel is to talk about how we're going to get the next billion users into crypto, into blockchain. There's kind of a problem there right off the rip. There's only 8 billion people in the world. And as Charles said this morning, only 550 million people are in crypto. So that's 6.88% of people in the world are in crypto. How do we get that number to 16%, 17%, et cetera? So initially, when you look at the 8 billion people, you have to realize only 2/3 of people in the world even use the internet. So it's a multi-pronged question, as in, do you target people online, which is only 2/3 of people in the world, or do you also go into the unbanked, the off the grid? So it's a very complicated question when you really think about just broad stroke mass adoption or crypto marketing. So Mark, my first question for you, this is Mark Vandenberger, CSMO of Algorand. You all just had a new roadmap come out, a lot of interesting stuff, and you're targeting businesses, you're targeting developers, and you're targeting consumers. So what is your approach with what you just had come out?
Yeah, thank you, AJ. So yeah, we had the roadmap come out last week, as you said, and the core focus of this roadmap is to drive broad adoption for crypto. And I think if you think about where the crypto industry is, we're still in kind of a pre-iPhone era. We're like in the era of the Nokia phone, where when you want to go online, you had to basically select your web gateway and click connect. For the people that are older in the audience like me, they'll know what I'm talking about. Younger people won't realize this. But anyway, so that's the era that we're in, right? And so we have services where you need a tech degree to be able to kind of use it. And I think we have to get rid of this. And so one of the core elements of our roadmap is about removing all the possible friction and complexity wherever we can find it. For developers, it means creating tools that allows them to easily use TypeScript and Python and use kind of vibe coding to kind of create their apps online. For users, it means rethinking what a wallet looks like and making sure that you remove seed phrases, you do account abstraction, fee abstraction, you do all the things that are necessary to remove the complexity of blockchain. And for businesses, it means really enabling them to build custodial solutions without having to know anything about the blockchain. And so that's really what we're focused on, is like wherever we find friction, wherever we find complexity, our goal is to just kill it and make sure there's no more barriers for people to adopt this technology.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Like, we had a conversation yesterday, and you told a story about a friend that you wanted him to send you a couple $1,000s in crypto, and it was a nightmare for him. You're pulling his.
It's insane, right? Like, for somebody, like, we're kind of used to doing this. We know how to send USDC from one to the other, and we have good wallets to do that. But for somebody who comes in fresh, who doesn't know anything, right? And this is a guy who actually works for like a big tech company, right? And I tell them like, hey, send me like 500 USDC. And so he said, like, it's insane, like having to go to Coinbase, having to go to the KYC, waiting a couple of days for the money to come over, then transferring it to a wallet, writing down the seed phrases and everything. It's like we don't realize this because we're in it, but for somebody to coming in fresh, it's just massive barriers. You have to be really motivated to be wanting to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And so Benjamin Minsu from Multiverse X, I want to move on to you. And I have a question for you, but first I want to say I had breakfast with one of your employees, work members this morning, and he said, I've read a lot of white papers in crypto, and I had never read a white paper that mentioned the users themselves and why that's so important. It has to be sleek UI, it has to be easy to use. So I'm going to put my first question for you aside and go to that one first. Why is targeting users so important from a white paper? No one's done that before you guys.
Hello. So first of all, hello Vegas, RareEvo. Just a quick question. I'm curious how many here have heard about Multiverse X?
Hell yeah.
Extraordinary. Awesome. How many here own some e-gold, if we're on the subject? Awesome. Respect. Coming back to your question, I think we sort of naturally gravitate much more to everything that's available in front of us And it's very hard sometimes to imagine how people think outside. And to this point, I believe that it's natural for us to almost come back, discuss with the people that understands us, with the people that are in the space, with the other people that are building something. And we very rarely realize how small this niche still is, how almost inexistent it is compared to the larger market. So once you think about the larger market, there's maybe two lenses to think about. One, just liquidity and assets, and then you can imagine the entire crypto space as this small, insignificant almost pond, and then a massive ocean all around us. And then flipping this, it also means there's a small niche of users here, and then a very large ocean of users here. So thinking how we can speak the simple language, how we can make things much more natural, and how we can have a conversation with someone on the street where they don't need to learn rocket science. They don't need to change their life.
Or know how to code.
Yeah, learn security, like do all these things that are very cool if you're into technology, you love them, but embracing and meeting them where they are, I think requires a very drastic change of perspective. And so in some sense, I believe that one of the most important catalysts that we're going to use ourselves, but then we're going to see as the main translator or the main bridge to this massive ocean of users is AI. And I believe AI in all its forms will enable, and today enable us, for instance, to write programs, applications and so on by speaking English. That's extraordinary. I wish that more of technology would be close to magical. And I feel AI will help us do that. We actually have some good things about which we'll probably share, but
yeah, I want to get into AI with you, but before I do that, I do want to move on to Chris Baird from Project Catalyst. Project Catalyst is essentially a funding mechanism to power projects, not just on Cardano, but multi-chains as well. So coming from a place where you're about to make a selection from X amount of projects, how do you make that selection? Like if there's 1,000 of you, you have to narrow it down to 5. What's that process like? And then once you have chosen the projects, how do you keep them accountable to do what they said they're going to do?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's a really good question. For those of you that don't know about Catalyst, great setup by AJ, but it really has powered Cardano's startup ecosystem over the last 5 years. We've run 13 funding rounds. We're currently in the middle of funding Fund 14 with 20 million ADA available for proposals coming from anywhere in the community. But to answer your question, it's really community driven and decentralized from the start right through to the finish. Anyone from the community can submit proposals. The community then review those proposals against criteria of impact, feasibility, and value for money, and then the community votes on them. So, to some extent, we might think of this as like an evolution of the DAO idea, really. But what we're seeing, what we've proven within Catalyst and Cardano is this can be done at scale. We're seeing like 1,500 to nearly 2,000 proposals coming in every single funding round now. And of those, we're funding, about 200 to 300 projects every single round, right? We've funded 2,091 projects, equivalent to $150 million worth of ADA in the last 4 years. It's pretty amazing.
You said 2,000, what's that number again?
2,091 projects. And there's people here that are in the audience right now that are funded projects themselves. So, you ask about the accountability, like how do you keep 2,000 projects honest and delivering on their commitments? Well, again, you turn to the community, right? So we put in place a model which allows the project teams to get funded to reach their first milestone. Once they reach their first milestone, they come back and deliver proof of achievement, which the community then need to sign off on. It's a really simple process. You show up, you deliver what you said you were going to deliver, you show people what you're delivering, they sign off on it, you get the green light to move forward. If you don't deliver what you say you're going to do, guess what's going to happen? People are going to run your name through the dirt, unfortunately, because we live in this hyper-social, hyper-communicative society now. So if you aren't delivering on your promises, you better believe that you've got a community behind you that are going to be tapping you on the back saying, why haven't you done what you said you were going to do? And guess what? It works. We've funded, as I said, over 2,000 projects, and like nearly 90% of them come back and can complete their commitments. And the ones that don't, it's often for reasons like technology immaturity, or the team falls out, or frankly, someone dies and you just can't complete the project. It's not normally because people just run off into the sunset because they know the consequences of doing that.
I think that's really fair. We've all seen in crypto the rise and fall of projects, the rise and fall of influencers, and accountability is everything in our space, in my opinion, because we have to keep each other honest. And without an honest environment, like, what are you going to do? Benny, I do want to circle back to you because we're talking about onboarding the next billion users onto crypto. My question to you is, are they humans?
This is a great question. I think we're probably going to see much faster the advent of 1 billion agents on chain rather than 1 billion humans. And this is not to say that I don't want humans to join and to have some fun and to benefit of these opportunities and technologies. But I just think that once you realize how valuable it will become to have an agent that does work for you, that does maybe trading for you, that just as you have a Tesla that now becomes a robo-taxi, your agent will be the person you send to do work today. And then once that agent starts to be productive, because it has a wallet, because it can do work for you, the question is, can you have 2 agents? And then can you have 10 agents? And I think that's the flip switch where companies from wherever they will be in the world will start buying those agents. And some companies will start selling those agents equipped with these tools that can just surf the internet and do stuff for you.
I think it's an interesting topic, and we talked about the roadmap, but agentic commerce is a core part of our roadmap, and it raises interesting questions because, how can you trust an agent, right? Like, are you going to give an agent access to your private keys and $1 million account and just let it go crazy? And so the way I think this is going to work is that you need some sort of a identity and security framework that lives on chain to make sure that the agent behaves properly and that the agent also has accountability associated with it. And so the agent will need an ID, but also the agent needs a trust model behind it, right? And ultimately, it's going to have to come back to the human, because ultimately it's the human. You cannot sue the agent in court for misbehaving, right? You can sue the human, so you need to have some sort of an accountability for these agents. They need to have a trust model associated with it that links it back to a human, and then their behavior will need to be constrained on chain so that they can't misbehave, that they behave within the constraints that are set by the human. So ultimately, I think there's always going to be a human behind the scenes in these things.
I'll be honest, guys, this scares the bejesus out of me that we're talking about the next billion users being all agents, right? If we're, to believe that maybe 60% of the job market is going to get decimated with the advent of AI, that's a really scary problem that we need to solve for, right? We as humans need to take back more control, and we need to be more responsible and accountable for decision making that we're already outsourcing to people that we really probably shouldn't, right? So when I think about where the next billion users come from, really it's about, for me, it's how can we enable people to make more decisions around causes that they care about, right? When people ask me what I do for a job, I say, if you could play more of an active role in helping to decide how funds are spent towards causes you care about, do you want to play that role? Right? If you were given the opportunity to vote on things, and it was at your fingertips, and it was as commonplace as sending a tweet or posting on social media, but it was towards things that you actually care about, would you want to or not? I think most people would say they probably would, right? You start taking more control of shaping the world around you, And actually, in not too distant future, we could see that we're actually contributing to the voting and the governance and the shaping of the societies that we really do want to see, rather than outsourcing all of our decision making to agents or to people that really don't represent our own interests.
100%. So just to elaborate a bit on this, I'm not as pessimistic as it may seem on humans after all. In fact, I believe that AI tools today grant humans possibilities that just years ago they could not even imagine. And in fact, we've built one tool that's called ViboX that essentially enables anyone, wherever they may be, to create an application by writing in English. That's, to me, the type of technology that we need more of, where technology feels more like magic. And then what does this tool effectively do? Well, on the one hand, I believe there's thousands, maybe hundreds or thousands of ideas that we have throughout our lives, and we die with them. These ideas remain stuck in our head. They never see the light. And so improving maybe 100x the number of ideas that see the light, that's extraordinary for humanity. That gives us more opportunities, more creativity, and then more things we can actually contribute to the world. That's one thing. The second thing is this idea that if you look at this entire space, one thing that we care a lot about, and maybe I almost care only about this as we speak, is distribution. And the question is, what's the real bottleneck for the entire blockchain space maybe? And one way to look at this is it has always been developers. Developers are brilliant. We love them. Some of them are geniuses, and that's extraordinary. But at the end of the day, there's only so much, only so many developers that you can work with and so on. So the question is, how can you create a tool that enables anyone, whether they're artists, teachers, singers, whatever else, creators, they can become builders. And builders are just people from around the world that can use an AI to deploy an app with a speed that is unparalleled. And maybe the last point is just compressing the time to market, taking it from years when you fund the project and then wait years and it comes online. With this tool, you can take it to hours. The person takes it and then magically looks at something and they cannot believe that this is possible. So that's more, I think we should have more of that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, to give you an example, we just completed a hackathon with Bolt. And Bolt is one of these vibe coding, AI vibe coding tools. So we were their blockchain partner. And so this hackathon had over 100,000 developers and builders. And so it's totally amazing what you see what happens when, and so they built, Bolt is basically this full stack system that uses AI to kind of build these apps. Now,
maybe next time you can use ViboX.
So I don't think they can build smart contracts. And we have several people from Algorand in the audience. They probably agree with me that Bolt wouldn't be able to create a smart contract yet, but they are able to create these phenomenal user experiences and phenomenal user interfaces and front ends that when you look at it, it's really an opportunity for developers to really build out their idea and build out the concept fine enough so you can actually see how it would work and how the integrate. And we need more of that within crypto. We need more than just the back end and highly research-oriented kind of project management. We need kind of user interfaces that are friendly to use, that are good to use, and AI can be a great tool. Can be a great tool for that.
Yeah, maybe I'll take another approach. Like, I don't think we've really seen the golden era of utility yet, right? Most of the crypto industry for the last decade has really been centered around open, public, permissionless blockchains, right? But when we think about what's really important, there's elements of like what you as an individual are happy to give out as your public truth. but then there's elements that you would want to maybe retain some level of privacy. So there's a private truth that that's required,
yes.
right?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, so we need to have more, I guess, utility which is based around sort of this understanding that we are going to be keeping things private, that we haven't quite seen the mass adoption or large-scale enterprise like just shifting all their infrastructure to blockchain, because we need these privacy-enabled layers, right? Once we've got more of this maturity around privacy-preserving layers, then there will be a shift between, there'll be things that will be open and public and permissionless, like, is your government spending, your tax money in the right ways? Well, you'd absolutely want that to be open and public and transparent. But then, for enterprises or anything that you're doing personally, you probably would want to keep most of that private, right? So it's just about, I think, maturity of where we are. We're not quite there yet, but we're heading towards this state of maturity within the infrastructure.
Yeah, and all three of you have made a lot of good points about, let's get back to the main question here. How are we going to bring the next billion users into crypto? Well, if you look at the Google trends across the board from when we were at the height of the previous bull run in 2021, and look at the same Google trends now, we're not even close to where we were back in 2021. The catch is now we have twice as many users. So really, mass adoption is crypto's two favorite words, but I think people getting excited, that always works. That without a doubt works. So my question to all three of you, we have about 3.5 minutes left on this panel here. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. What's the catalyst? What's the catalyst?
Well, I don't think there's like one single kind of like app that will just set the world on fire.
Sure.
I think it's like, to me, the way I think about this is like blockchain will be successful when it disappears. As long as it's visible to the user, it will not be successful. And to give you an example, we just launched a complete on-chain loyalty program for chess players with worldchess.com. And so World Chess has over 1 million chess players. They all have Algorand accounts. They all have their points stored on Algorand. But nobody knows Algorand is in there other than a little badge that says powered by Algorand, right? And that's the only visibility that you have of the blockchain. The user experience is Web 2-like. People log in the normal way they log in. They get access to their points. They can do whatever they want. But the blockchain kind of have disappeared. And I think that's how you get to mass adoption. So we're bringing 1 million chess players online, right? Maybe online poker will launch a similar loyalty program. Maybe we'll have 5 million poker players that go online, right? That go on chain, and powered by Algorand, of course. But that's how I think you get to mass adoption, is that the blockchain as an infrastructure layer completely disappears, and so the users get the benefit of using it without necessarily knowing that they're using it.
So using blockchain without knowing you're using blockchain, eliminating seed phrases, eliminating friction, and using an email address. I think that'd be a lot easier for everyone else.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit like, okay, if you're a degen and you really believe in being a degen and DeFi, which I firmly believe in, then you look at this and say, like, this is heresy, right? Because this is not the way like my keys, if I don't have my keys, then I own my money. But like, I think really getting to mass adoption is really going beyond that, and giving people the tools to take the benefit of the infrastructure without necessarily having to know that you're using the infrastructure. Nobody knows they're using an Oracle database when they're doing something, so why should they know about the blockchain?
Yeah, that's completely fair. Benny, same question to you. What's the catalyst?
So I think if we look at something like ChatGPT, that app has been the fastest growing app in history. In a span of time that is incomprehensible to most people, what it would mean for anyone else to reach 100 million users. It's now at something like 400 million users. I believe many of the things that we're discussing about, whether it's privacy, governance, abstraction that you really embed to the blockchains, or whether it's scalability, speed, things that we've prepared and are going to release, those things I think will be taken to their natural conclusion mostly with AI. Because people have money, they have opportunities, they've had this before blockchain, and it's in the AI space that for the first time you cannot do without. So I believe that we'll have many more AI tools that will literally eat software, will eat all our other tools, and it is within that stack that blockchain indeed will disappear, because you'll use it, it will just work, you'll have verification, and that's the thing that you'll love. You'll just get the value that you want out of it.
And Chris, this whole thing is really set up. What's the catalyst?
Yeah, I mean, I've just got a very hard line on this. I think that we really should be using blockchain for voting. I think we get to take control of decision making. And we shouldn't be having a conversation, is Dominion's voting system legitimate? Does it work or not? Right? It should be trustless. We just don't need to trust that it works. It's trustless. That's what blockchain enables. We just need the interfaces and the abilities to be able to participate in decision making more holistically than we do today.
Amazing. Well, everybody, we are out of time. Make sure you give a big round of applause for Chris, Benny, Mark. My name's AJ Rates Crypto. Have a safe rest of your day. Get rich or get wrecked. Peace out.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoying RareEvo? Then lock in your spot for next year right now. RareEvo 2026 is already in the works, and it's going to be even bigger. More chains, more builders, more connections. Tickets are live. Go to rareevo.io/2026 to grab your early access pricing before it's gone. Don't wait. Be first. Be part of what's next. We'll see you at RareEvo 2026.